Welcome aboard the Omni-bus to Miscellanea. I'm Cyber and I'll be your overseer today. Before we kick things off, if you're enjoying the journey, please share us with your friends and family. Your support helps us grow and we'd be grateful if you could take a moment to rate us 5 stars on Spotify or whichever platform you're listening on. And don't forget, we have a Patreon. By joining us at patreon.com/Project Cyclone, you can help us continue creating fun projects and supporting other aspiring creatives eager to share their talents. If you're interested in being a part of an episode or getting involved in our upcoming projects, we want to hear from you. Feel free to reach out at projectcyclone.com and show us what you can do. That's PROJECTPSYCLONE.com. projectcyclone.com. Now, without any further ado, let's buckle up and get ready to explore. Where the clown, the king, and the red-headed girl reign. Where culinary apathy floods the streets. Our next stop, written by Patrick Ryan, The Cupcake Wars.
In the year 2043, the obesity crisis reached a peak. 3 out of every 4 people were considered obese, but because those 3 people were the size of 6, the number read 6 out of every 4 people were obese. Everyone was looking for someone to blame. At first, they went after junk food, but the clown, the king, and red-headed girl shifted the focus to dessert. And before you knew it, the baked good trinity of sugar, butter, and flour had been banned throughout the world. It was typical to see open-air pizza ovens, junkies eating croissants behind dumpsters, and people reporting their neighbors if they smelled bread coming from their homes. Protein got cheap after a few decades, and everyone moved on. It was customary for children to be unaware of cheesecake, eclairs, and Danish. The Protein Alliance was too powerful for the cupcake resistance to survive and went underground. Mike Stevens, a recent college graduate majoring in accounting, got his first break working for the clown. The days were long and the money was short. On his way home one afternoon, he stopped at a plain yogurt shop.
I'll take the medium.
Ivan, a large burly man behind the counter, scooped up the medium container and handed it to Mike. Mike began to eat it, but it was tasteless, and Ivan could see it on Mike's face. The shop was empty, and Ivan felt bad for Mike.
Doesn't it taste bad?
Huh? I don't know. Does it? I guess it tastes like anything else.
Are you a cop? The FDA? USDA?
No. I'm just an accountant.
Come with me.
Ivan dumps Mike's medium plain yogurt carton in the trash. He then led him to the basement
Cream
with a
brulee.
tightly locked door. Ivan knocked twice, and the eye slot opened. The door opens as the eye slot closes. Mike and Ivan enter a room where Mike, for the first time in his life, encounters dessert. Everywhere you looked, there were brownies, red velvet, and chocolate chip cookies. Ivan gives Mike some of his favorite desserts to try, and Mike can't believe his taste buds. They spend nearly an hour in that room, experimenting with various combinations of confectionery joy. They eventually start talking.
I can't believe it. This food is so delicious. The rest of the world should know about these flavors.
Well, thank your boss, the clown, for that.
Are there other places like this?
We're all over the world, just waiting for people to wake up.
Is there anything I can do to help get the word out?
Now that you mention it, we've been looking for years for a way to attack inside the arches. All you'd have to do is swipe your card and leave the door slightly cracked open.
I'm not sure. I've only had this job for a month. Hypothetically, what would you do?
Nothing much, just a little food fight.
I suppose that wouldn't be so bad. I'll do it. For the dessert!
The following week, Mike did as he promised and left the door open, allowing 10 members of the Cupcake Resistance to sneak inside. They were fully stocked with everything from pudding to baked Alaska. It was violent, messy, and delicious all at the same time. Following the food fight, the media termed it the first strike in the Cupcake Wars. Desserts were suddenly no longer entirely underground. In Paris, macaroons were thrown at the red-headed girl. In Boston, Boston cream pie was smeared all over the King's drive-thru. And in Istanbul, Turkish delight was planted in the trunk of the clown's car. Despite growing opposition, the legislation would not budge. The Protein Alliance would not allow it. Ivan and Mike devised a scheme one night at the Plain Yogurt Shop that may finally end the Cupcake Wars. They planned to attack the problem at its root: inexpensive protein. If the protein became unaffordable, people would be less likely to go along. Mike and Ivan broke into the largest protein plant in the United States 2 days later. Security was tight, but Ivan was able to pull some strings and acquire them inspector badges. They didn't have much time, but it was enough to sabotage the operation. They arrived at the production floor, where hundreds of protein patties were being produced per second. Ivan began fiddling with a conveyor line, but security quickly surrounded them. They fled all over the plant, evading security for a while, but they were soon surrounded. Desperate, Ivan threw a tiramisu bomb, which was enough to distract security and allow them to run away. Mike and Ivan were now lost in the bowels of the protein plant. They discovered a high-security door. They couldn't believe what they saw when they opened it. Fat people were loaded onto conveyor belts and dropped into the protein chopping machine. They were gathering all the overweight people and making them into protein patties. This is why the meat was so cheap. It was human. Ivan took several photos before escaping in the back of a protein patty delivery van. The next day, everything changed. Once people realized the protein patties were humans, the Cupcake Wars were over. The clown, the king, and the red-headed girl were all imprisoned for deceiving the public. It didn't take long for the baked good trinity to be legalized again, and the Cupcake Wars ended. Mike and Ivan would go on to be heroes, preaching transparency, freedom, and that a slice of cheesecake now and then ain't too bad either.
The Cupcake Wars was written by Patrick Ryan, who can be found on Reddit at Patrick_Ryan_82. The narrator was played by Roy Berglund. You can find Roy at voicebyroy.com. Ivan was played by Camden Benkovsky. This episode was edited and composed by Cy Nelson, who can be found on Reddit at Cy_Cyclone and Instagram at Cyber_Cyclone. The producers for this episode were Cy Nelson and Teddy BBBear, who can be found on Instagram at TDY_BBBear. All links and credits can be found in the description. And as for our bus, you can always find a stop on the corner between somewhere and nowhere. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay cozy. We hope to see you soon.